centralization of the government has to break. The government is parasitic. Our society is infected with short-term thinking because we know our money is like an ice cube on a fucking stove. Things will start to change when the dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency, because that will mean...
What do you think needs to change? Is there any kind of... I mean, obviously there's a ton of issues with the way prison systems are run. I mean, most of the ones in Texas don't even have air conditioning.
I know. It's fucking a human rights violation, dude.
It should be actual. I mean, you're not sending someone to prison to be tortured.
Right.
So, but in some cases, you add all this, even just the racial segregation and the way you go in and come out. Do you think that's going to help society when these people come out and spend 15 years segregated like that and then learning how to hate? I mean, it's a mess. What can we do?
Unfortunately, it seems like the pendulum is swinging back to this really low IQ, like tough on crime culture, which, by the way, it's no coincidence it's happening at the same time that we create violence overseas, which is true. The more that you normalize violence overseas, the more you're going to have it in your own society. So, and people are celebrating like, oh, hey, look it worked in El Salvador. Okay, fucking El Salvador is a village with the GDP of like what I paid for lunch. You know what I mean? Like, it's if you want to have an American society based off the principles of like liberty and the Constitution, if you don't, like maybe America's just headed for something that looks more like a monarchy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fuck with that shit at all.
No.
I don't fuck with that, bro. I believe like the punishment has to fit the crime. Mm-hmm. If you want to live in Asia where you get, drug traffickers are get their heads cut off, does the punishment fit the crime? No, but it does. There's a lot less crime. It curbs it for sure. But
it's not humane either.
And think about in times of, do they have free speech? No, they don't.
Right.
So it's not just crime that the government cracks down on. It's liberty. You stupid motherfuckers. Like, what did Thomas Jefferson say? Like, I would rather, whatever. I'm going to butcher the quote. He who would give up liberty for security deserves neither. I totally agree with it. Mm-hmm. Like, you should want some crime. You know why? Because it means you're not being spied on and the government's not torturing and imprisoning people at every single turn. You don't live in China. You should want some crime. You should want an imperfect society. But anyways, to address your point, like, you also don't want, an overcrowded prison system with inmates killing each other. And you also don't want, what we see happening in many cities around the country. So, but I think it's got to continue to get worse before it gets better. The government's going to continue, we're at the last stage of whatever turn in history we're at. So, yeah, there's got to be a whole political revolution. I have no good answers for you. It basically has to be the centralization of the government has to break, and the states and the communities will have to start reorienting the way that they conduct themselves. And basically, it has to be, we can't spend as much money anymore. So we have to be smart about what we do. We have to say, okay, we need to invest more in education so our prison systems are not full.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have to take away the incentives for prison to be full. Right.
That's part of the problem. I said, when you start allocating money or saying you need to save money or whatever, or get rid of the fraud would be great too. Mm-hmm. But I also think it's the lowest priority on anyone's list, because you say, where do we need to spend more? And someone brings up the prison system. They're like, F that. I mean, what good is helping the prison system? It's fine. You get to prison. You deserve it, whatever.
Well, we'll give more money. Spend more money on prisons, put more people behind the wall, and then give the contracts to the governor's friend, right?
Right.
Like, that's the problem. So the things will start to change when the dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency.
That's coming.
And it's coming. And I hope it comes in my lifetime, because that will mean that a government who actually has to be fiscally responsible, you're going to hopefully eliminate a lot of the corruption. And then you do what is fiscally sound. So if you listen to like Bitcoiners, that's what they all say, or gold bugs. When the money is fixed, it will just incentivize better behavior, and then you'll have less crime. You know what I mean? So to me, that's
or tackle it more efficiently at the very least.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, dude, I think that's a tall order. So I think it really, yeah,
it's a tall order. Yeah, especially with the divide that you talked about earlier. I mean, because that's where a lot of this fraud comes into play. So if you eliminate that middle class, then you have fewer people controlling more of what these issues are compounded by that.
Right.
Because they're not going to vote themselves out of those contracts.
No, exactly.
So you're talking about, revolutionizing something here almost.
And it won't, I don't think it'll be sectarian violence. I think in America, it will have to be, our dollar's not worth shit. We have to lay ourselves off. The way the Soviet Union just dissolved, not because we beat them militarily, they were broke, and they just put up their hand and said, we can't.
Yeah. And
it could take a politician to do that, maybe. Finally get somebody in who, the promise of MAGA and America First, and that fraud from Vivek, who was like, I want to cut out 75% of the federal government. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. Now, of course, it was all a lie, right? But somebody to actually do that, that's the step in the right direction.
Right.
It's reducing, the government is parasitic. Maybe you need some of it, but it's a cancer, and its whole reason for being is to grow and grow and grow and grow
feeding
and grow.
Itself with
feeding
the
itself.
wealth of the people that are donating in order to get them in place the first place, and then
and they take your money through printing, stealing your money through the inflation tax.
Yeah.
Nobody voted for this war.
Cents. Yeah,
nobody voted to go to Iran. So why does a 20-year-old black kid in LA put a mask on and go with a mob of kids? Well, because it's fun. But there's no consequences. It's fun.
You're not going to get shot probably because nobody's carrying. You're not going to get arrested.
Exactly. So, but why does he do that? Because it's a quick lick. It's short-term thinking. So our society is infected with short-term thinking because we know our money is like an ice cube on a fucking stove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's that kind of shit. When there's more hope, when the money lasts and you're able, it'll take generations, but people will start thinking more long-term like the Chinese do.
Well, unfortunately, that's the example I would use, is that, because we're all not only not long-term thinking, but you have most of the voter populace worried about how this one particular tax is going to affect their household, and the rest of the country be damned.
We're talking about the boomers. Hey, ding, ding, ding. We finally got to it. A whole generation has to die. Not go away, not go to Palm Springs, not go to Boca. They have to cease. That will be a huge step in the right direction. And look, I've said this before on podcasts. My parents are boomers. I include them in it. I love you guys, but you could be on the front lines of this trend of boomers dying.
And that's an interesting take, because I still think most of the voters are uneducated. I think the mass populace of voters are undereducated about what they're actually voting for. And so when somebody leveraging AI now can speak to your need specifically for a particular candidate, then you'll go and vote for them because of your one need that gets fulfilled without looking at a bigger picture about what's the consequence of that one need being filled. Nobody looks at that. There's not enough educated voters to actually look at it, or the ones that try to be educated also can't get the damn truth from any of the people that are talking about it, what they're going to do. Nobody's believable.
Now, but the only people who believe the government are the Fox News, South Florida people, really, and a little bit of the MSNBC too. The West Coast. I'll call them my parents' generation. They're like they are to MAGA in South Florida what Rachel Maddow and Bill Clinton are to the Democrats, right?
Yep.
It's they're just simply irrelevant, but they're the ones with all the money. And they're the ones who vote. So all they have to do, the politician just has to tell you as the voter with the money what you want to hear, and they'll just keep getting elected. So, so once that's all gone, that will leave room. It's the whole thing's got to burn down, basically. 90% of it's got to burn down literally or figuratively, and it will be rebuilt.